Hey,
Hi, Mr.
how are you,
President.
Ingrid?
I'm wonderful.
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Welcome to my living room.
It is very stylish, as I would expect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
I live about 60 miles west of San Bernardino, and I
Yeah.
want to ask you about terrorism
Yeah.
and the fear that many Americans have about it. Do we all have to accept that living with the threat of terror attacks on our own soil is going to become the new normal for us?
Well, I don't think we should ever accept that. And it is unfortunately going to be true throughout our lifetimes, and you're a lot younger than me, so yours as well, that people who are twisted in some ideology or cause, who don't value human life and don't value their own, can probably do some harm to people, particularly given the easy access of weapons and guns. But keep in mind that since 9/11, we've made enormous strides in preventing the kind of big terrorist attacks that we saw on 9/11. We devote enormous resources to tracking and making sure that we're preventing those kinds of events. A lone individual, a small group trying to carry something out, that may happen once in a while, but the key for us, I think, is to keep sustained pressure on organizations like ISIL that are constantly trying to gin up that kind of terrorist attack, and to be vigilant about things like airline safety and security. And if we do that, then this is going to be something that is solved. But it's really important, I think, for people to understand we take very seriously the threat of terrorism. Our military, our intelligence, we devote a lot of resources to it. But since 9/11, probably over 100, but less than 150 people have died on American soil from a terrorist attack. And in comparison, tens of thousands of people are dying every year from auto accidents and other things. So we take it seriously, we focus on it, but I don't want people to feel like every day that somehow the likelihood of a terrorist attack is something that they should change how they live. Because generally speaking, we do a pretty good job of preventing it.
Yeah, that's really comforting to
Good.
hear. Now, something that's really important to me and my audience is women's health.
Yeah.
And recently I was shocked to learn that pads, tampons, and other menstrual products are taxed as luxury goods in 40 states.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone who has a period that thinks it's a luxury. Because
I think that's fair to say. Michelle would agree with you on that.
yes, because it's something that's part of our everyday lives and is
Right.
really crucial to our health as women.
Right.
And so I want to know, why do these items continue to be taxed?
I have to tell you, I have no idea why states would tax these as luxury items. I suspect it's because men were making the laws
Yeah.
when those taxes were passed. And I think it's pretty sensible for women in those states that you just mentioned to work to get those taxes removed. Those aren't federal taxes that are imposed. Those are state taxes, state law. So it'd be governors and state legislatures who would have to reverse those. But this raises a broader question that I've been working on since I came into office, which was, how do we make sure that everybody has decent health care, preventive care, and women in particular have the kind of health care that they need? So when I passed the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which sometimes gets all distorted because of politics, but it's actually a pretty simple proposition, and that is, if you don't have health insurance on your job, then you shouldn't be without coverage. Because if you get hurt, if you get hit by a car, if you have an illness, it could take away everything that you have. And you should just be focused on getting well. So it allows you to go on an exchange, sign up at healthcare.gov. You can get affordable coverage for young people who are healthy. It typically costs less than your cell phone. But what we also focused on is making sure that everybody who has insurance, from whatever source, can't be discriminated against because they've got a pre-existing condition, that women can't be charged more than men for insurance coverage, that pregnancy isn't treated as an illness, that contraception is part of a standard package of care that you receive, because the basic idea is that women should not be at a disadvantage in the healthcare system, and this is just one more example of it, which I confess I was not aware of until you brought up to my attention.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now you know, and now many other people
Yes,
know.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you do know that 2015 was a huge year for the LGBT community, and a lot of progress has been made.
Right.
And there's still a lot of work to be done, though. And this is something that's really personal to me because in June, I came out in a YouTube video as a lesbian.
Right.
And after that, my world got a whole lot bigger.
Yeah.
And I realized that there's still a lot of discrimination happening. And just the other day, the Alabama Chief Justice halted same-sex marriage in that state. And I'm wondering if progress in the LGBT community is not here to stay in certain states.
Oh, no. It's here to stay. Understand that the Supreme Court has ruled that under the Constitution, everybody in all 50 states has the right to marry the person they love. So that's now the law of the land. The fact that an Alabama judge is resisting is just a temporary gesture by this judge, which will be rapidly overturned because it violates what's called the Supremacy Clause. When the federal Constitution speaks, then everybody has to abide by it, and state laws and state judges can't overturn it. So you shouldn't be worried about that. I think that the process of changing people's attitudes, the process of people treating the LGBT community with full equality and respect, making sure they're not discriminated on the job or in housing or things like that. Those are areas where we've still got some significant work to do. And for young people, making sure that they're not bullied, that requires the participation of all of us. So, we're not there yet. On the other hand, I got to tell you, to watch the amazing strides that we've made over the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and all as a result of the incredible courage of people, who had the courage to come out and say, here's who I am, but who did it 20, 30 years ago when it was incredibly tough.
Yeah.
It was because of their courage and their activism that we've seen the changes that we've made, and I'm confident that we'll keep on making them. The best thing about, the thing that makes me most hopeful about this is when I talk to Malia and Sasha and young people your generation, their attitudes are so different, and the notion that you discriminate against somebody because of sexual orientation is so out of sync with how most young people think, including young Republicans, young Democrats. I mean, I think it's across some of the usual political lines that this is an issue that is going to be moving in the right direction as long as we stay vigilant and keep working on it.
Good. I hope so.
Yeah.
And something that I heard you talk about in the State of the Union that you want to work on is cancer and cancer treatments, because my mom is actually a cancer survivor. And so when I was watching the State of the Union, I actually ran back to my iPad when you mentioned that you want to cure cancer. And that's a big thing to say. And I want to know, how close are we to finding a cure, and can our government really do something about it?
Well, I think we can do a lot. Look, my mom died of cancer when she was younger than I am now. It's great that your mom is a survivor. Vice President Biden obviously has just gone through a terrible situation where he lost his son to cancer, Beau Biden. Every family's been touched by this at some point. It's not going to happen next year or even 5 years from now. On the other hand, I think it is entirely possible that over the next 20 years, we see the kinds of strides in fighting cancer that we haven't seen before. And the reason is because the human genome, our understanding of how cancer cells develop, the fact that we now recognize that different cancers may react differently to different medicines, and even the same cancer may react differently if it's in you versus it's in me, all allows us to really start honing in and breaking down the elements at the base level that creates new cures. And the key for us now is to put a lot more money into research, a lot more money into science. It's what I was talking about at the State of the Union. We've already increased the National Institutes of Health budget for this area, but we can definitely continue to do more, and I want to make sure that we sustain those levels of cancer research. If we do, I think we're going to see some really big breakthroughs soon, and obviously that would have a revolutionary impact on the lives of people every day. By the way, some of this research is also directed at things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, debilitating diseases that, as we learn more and more, we think that we may end up having an impact on it.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear that. Now, something that I'm really excited
Yes.
about is a series that I do on my channel called
Okay.
Sense of Self. And this is a series where I go into people's homes and their offices, and I
Right.
listen to the stories behind the personal items that
Right.
they have. And before this interview, we asked you if you could bring something from your home, the White House,
Yeah.
to talk about today and tell me why it's meaningful to you.
Well, here's what I did. Instead of bringing something out of my house, I thought it would be useful, or I thought it'd be right on point. So ever since I started running for office, people started handing me things when I'd speak to a crowd as Lucky Charms or keepsakes or things that meant something to them. And so now I have a habit of, I always carry around, and I have a whole bowl full of them, and I can't carry all of them around because then they'd be, but I'll pick out a few things that I just stick in my pocket to remind me of all the people I've met along the way and the stories they told me. So I'll just give you, this is what I had in my pocket today. I've got, this is rosary beads that Pope Francis gave me.
Wow.
That obviously means a lot to me because I so admire him, and it makes me think about peace and promoting understanding and ethical behavior. This is a little Buddha that
Oh my gosh.
a Buddhist monk gave me.
Wow.
This is a lucky poker chip that's metal
Oh wow, that's really cool.
that this biker gave me. He was bald, and he had a big handlebar mustache and a bunch of tats. And this is when I was in Iowa in 2007. So he said, "This is my lucky poker chip. You can have it." And then I got this is a Hindu little statuette of the monkey god Hanuman that a woman gave me. And I've got a Coptic cross. This is from Ethiopia.
Wow.
So I've got a whole bunch of this
Yes.
stuff. But the reason I thought it was useful to show these, because I carry these around all the time, and I'm not that superstitious, so it's not like I think necessarily I have to have them on me at all times. But it does remind me of all the different people that I've met along the way, and how much they've invested in me, and their stories and what their hopes and dreams are, so that if I feel tired or I feel discouraged sometimes, I can kind of reach into my pocket and I say, yeah, that's something, that's something I can overcome because somebody gave me this privilege to work on these issues that are going to affect them. I better get back to work.
That's really touching.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing those items
Absolutely.
with me. I loved it.
I had more than one, though. I hope you don't mind.
No, not at all. The more, the better. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
I really enjoyed it.
I loved this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. President, to wrap up the interview today, we actually want to bring out one final set.
Yes.
Swizzy, you're going to roll this out. It has pictures of people that have asked you questions throughout the last 7 years in these YouTube interviews.
How cool is that?
Some familiar faces,
Absolutely.
I think. We just want to thank you. I mean, this has been a wonderful tradition that you've started. We certainly hope your successor follows in your footsteps and goes straight to the American people after the big speech.
If
It
they're
means so
smart, they
much.
will.
I agree. Thanks so much, Mr. President.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Steve. And thanks for the whole YouTube community for making this happen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Really, it was wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We should get a picture together, don't you
We
think?
should.
You did a selfie last year, but this year we have a 360 camera.
This is even cooler.
I know.
All right, so how does this work?
So I'll hold it, and
Okay.
you guys will
All right,
come
come on.
together. So I got to hold it, I'm told, right up about here.
All right.
All right, 1, 2, 3. All righty.
It makes kind of a cool sound.
It's pretty cool.
It's sort of like a space-age sound, doesn't it?
It is indeed. Well, if you want to go back and see the rest of this interview or watch it again, just go to youtube.com/White House. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.